People these days think age makes you weak, but I've lived long enough to know age doesn't make you weaker. It makes you quieter, sharper, and far more dangerous. My name's Harold. I'm 74 years old, a retired history professor, and a proud grandfather to a young woman named Sophie. Sophie's been my sunshine ever since she was born. After her parents passed away when she was 10, I raised her myself. She's smart, funny, and too kind for her own good. A few months ago, she came home for dinner with her boyfriend, Ryan. She'd mentioned him before, said he was ambitious and confident. But when I opened the door and saw him for the first time, that confidence looked more like arrogance. He shook my hand like he was doing me a favor. "Nice place," he said, looking around my living room. "Kind of old-fashioned." I smiled. "Well, it's been around longer than you have, son. It's supposed to be..." He chuckled, the kind of laugh that's half a mockery. Sophie gave me an apologetic look. I just smiled and motioned them to sit. Dinner went fine, until Ryan started talking about careers and success. He leaned back in his chair and said, Sir, I believe people who don't keep up with modern trends end up obsolete." He looked straight at me when he said that. Sophie frowned. "Ryan, Grandpa's retired, but he used to teach history at the university." "Oh, right. History?" he smirked. "Stories about old wars and dead people? Not much use in today's world, huh?" I felt the sting, but I didn't react. I've dealt with worse than a kid with too much pride. I just asked calmly, "And what do you do, Ryan?" He said proudly, "I'm an entrepreneur. Crypto, stocks, trading, you name it." I nodded. "Ah, so you gamble for a living." He didn't like that. His smile dropped for a second, then he said something I'll never forget. Sophie told me you don't even use social media." I can't imagine living like that, cut off from the world. I replied, "Son, sometimes the best way to understand the world is to step away from the noise." He laughed. "That's one way to justify being left behind." Sophie's face turned red. "Ryan, stop it," she said, but I raised my hand gently. "It's all right, dear. Let him talk." The rest of dinner was quiet, but I noticed how proud Ryan looked, like he just won a debate. After dessert, he stood up and said, "I hope I didn't offend you, sir. I just believe the world belongs to the young." I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "You might be right. But remember, it's the old who built that world for you." He smiled dismissively and left with Sophie. 2 weeks later, Sophie called me crying. "Grandpa," she said, "Ryan's in trouble. He lost his company money in a bad investment. He doesn't know what to do?" I told her to bring him over. When they arrived, Ryan looked pale, nervous, a completely different man from the one who mocked me at dinner. He said softly, "Sir, I made a mistake. I invested in a fake crypto platform. I lost $80,000 of investor money. I don't know how to fix it." I looked at him for a long moment, then walked to my study. When I returned, I placed a folder in front of him. It had the title, Financial Crimes and Fraud, Lecture Notes, 1987, Professor Harold Miller. Ryan looked up at me in shock. "You taught finance?" I nodded. Before history, I specialized in global economic systems. Later, I advised the Federal Commission on Market Ethics. "You could say I know a few things about scams?" His mouth dropped open. Sophie smiled faintly, realizing just how little he knew about me. I sat down and said, "Ryan, you wanted to teach me about modern trends? Let me teach you about timeless mistakes, greed and arrogance." For the next hour, I explained exactly how he could report the fraud, recover some funds, and protect his investors. He listened like a child being scolded, but learning something real for the first time. When we finished, he said quietly, "I'm sorry, sir. I was wrong about you." I smiled. "You weren't wrong about me, Ryan. You were just too busy talking to notice who you were talking to." Sophie's eyes teared up. That night, as they left, Ryan shook my hand, this time firmly, respectfully, with both hands. He said, "Thank you, sir. I promise I'll make things right." A month later, Sophie told me Ryan started volunteering to teach financial awareness to college students, and he always mentions, "An old professor once taught me the difference between being smart and being wise." You know, in life, people will judge you for your wrinkles, your silence, your old-fashioned ways. Let them, because one day when the noise fades, they'll realize wisdom doesn't age, it waits. And that night I smiled to myself and whispered, maybe the world still belongs to the young, but it still listens to the old.